Breath. We are being recorded live. Welcome, everyone. We are coming usually from bi-coastal, but this time we are going north and south. I'm based here in Irvine, California, and David, you're based in
Montreal, Quebec.
Isn't that cool?
Bonjour.
Anyway,
bonjour.
Bonjour. Hey. Anyway, so welcome to Know the Rules of the Game. We have Disrupt the Status Quo in Real Estate. I mean, actually did a conference a couple of years ago where we're the disruptors. So I love this. I love this. I love this. So I'm your host, Desiree Patno, and I own and the founder of Women in Housing Real Estate Ecosystem in NARB. I'm also the chairwoman of the Diversity Inclusion Leadership Council, the NDLC, and also I have owned my own real estate brokerage for the last 32 years, and also the publisher of NARB magazine. So welcome, David. So David Morrell. Well, what could I tell you about him? He's the co-founder and managing partner of the Greater Property Group, as well as a creator and host of Run GPG podcast. So podcast to podcast, we're on. We're making it happen.
Doing it. We're doing it. Yep.
We're doing it. So he's been in the industry for over 20 years. He is a byproduct of Clubhouse with me. Yes. All right. So we did that. We got to bring that out there because love Clubhouse. It's been something that has really changed the narrative of how we communicate and also how we can sit down and just chill without actually leaving our home. So love, love, love. Over the time, he has curated, trained, and coached some of the highest producing teams and agents in the business. And he's a co-founder of the Greater Property Group. David and his partner have become passionate about disrupting the status quo while at the same time helping agents and associates grow and scale the business in a rapidly changing industry. Absolutely love that. So welcome, David.
Oh, thanks for having me, Desiree. I was looking forward to this. I say this all the time, you know, when, especially on Clubhouse, when you pop in the rooms, I'm like, Desiree is one of the smartest people that you will listen to on this platform. You've heard me say that. I know you've heard me say that. Yes, because I believe that you are one of the smartest people on Clubhouse, you know, one of the smartest people I know. So anyways.
Thank you. Now I didn't slip you a $100 bill, but we'll think about it. I love that. So we were talking before we went live, and some of the things that's so powerful is that, you know, your disruption and my disruptions are very similar, but very, very different. And I'd like everyone to hear something about you. Now, we know you're in Canada. I'm in the United States, and I've traveled to Canada several times for the family offices and things like that, and the blockchain and Bitcoin and all that kind of craziness that's been going on for years. So my question to you is that, what is something that your best friend or your partner doesn't know about you that you'd like to share, that you'd like to get it off your chest so everyone can come to the forefront?
Well, okay. So we just wrapped up our Ryder Cup golf tournament, basically. So I play in a tournament every year. It's a team from Montreal versus a team from Quebec City. It's a 4-day tournament in the mountains of Quebec in Mont-Tremblant. And
how beautiful.
It's beautiful. Yeah, it is beautiful. It's stunning, actually stunning. And so it's a grueling tournament, 4 matches over the weekend. My first year in the tournament, I won most gentlemanly, or in Canada, we call it the Lady Bing Trophy. So the Lady Bing is the most gentlemanly in hockey. So we just applied that to the golf tournament. So I won that award, and then I won it again this year, the most gentlemanly, which is, you know, when I told my wife that, she was a little bit shocked. She was a little bit shocked. So I'm very proud of the fact that I'm the guy that you'd want to have drinks with. It's voted on by the other team. So anyways, that's a little something about me. I'm an avid golfer. I enjoy it. Now I can, you know, lets me get away with a lot when I say I was voted most gentlemanly.
Well, you think about it, as my kids would say, Mom, I don't have to be nice to you. I can be nice to all my friends. So you're applying it, wife. You know what? You know, you get the good and the bad. They get the good. So you got to level it out. So I love it. Well, I gotta say, in Clubhouse, you've always been exceptionally respected to the women. You've always brought up just out of the blue. Wow, did you hear what Desiree just said, or Anna said, or someone said, that you just come up and really bring it. You have the social hours. We have the ability to really how you navigate and change. And something you brought up to me that was, and I want to start in before we take a deep dive into, you know, the disruption of the status quo, because real estate, because I've been saying this for years, the last 4 or 5 years. We knew the big tech companies were coming. We knew the big ways of there's not enough assets to sell. Well, we've heard that now, the biggest of how the assets, and we've heard the change of what is real money. Is it in Bitcoin? Is it dollar value? Is it cryptocurrency? Is it something you can't see or feel anymore? Is gold even a real thing anymore? I mean, we could go down the different, physical aspects versus, visual
Mhm.
aspects. So you've really taken it to a whole new level. So one of the things I really wanted to take a deep dive in, your background. I'd like to take a few minutes to talk about before we go into the rules. Tell us a little bit about your background that's been very unique. We were talking about that.
My background. I'm not good at talking about myself, Desiree, too much. So you might get shorter answers on this. I'm used to interviewing people like you. That's what I'm used
No, no,
to.
no. We're flipping a switch here. So that's the little I know. We're going to talk about your bar scene. We're going to talk about why a bar to real
No,
estate.
no, 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 no. Like that. No. So like, no, a little bit about, I don't want to go down there. No, but I grew up in an entrepreneurial household.
Okay.
My father was like a true entrepreneur. He started more businesses than I can count, sold them, moved on, very high risk taker. So I think I grew up around, I think that laid the foundation for kind of my mentality as an adult, good or bad, I guess, good or bad. So being a risk taker, being entrepreneurial, I'm not a guy that can punch in, punch out 9 to 5 job. Is never in my DNA. So, my dad was always someone who jumped in through the parachute later. So I think that, tends to play out with me and as an adult. So, I kind of, before I got into real estate, I've been in real estate over 20 years now, but before that, I was, I was a DJ. I had, I was a bartender, I was doing things like that. Right. And I did a few other things at a couple other businesses, started another business that I sold at one point and was doing that. And then I got into real estate. It was actually my dad who sat me down. And of course, an entrepreneur's entrepreneur. And he said, he did the math and he was saying, you can hustle and you can close people and you can make X amount of dollars per transaction. That's the way he thought. Right. Now go out and sell. You're going to become a real estate agent. Well, in Canada, the barrier to entry is a little bit higher than where you are. So, it's, typically months of schooling cost thousands of dollars. At the time when I got in, I think it was around a month of schooling and I'm going to say about 5K, something like. Now it's a little bit different. I think it's closer, depending on the province you're in, it could take, 3, 6, a year even, to get your real estate license. So it's a little bit different here. Right.
Thank you.
So,
I mean, that is, oh my God, this is fantastic. This is one
yeah,
of the reasons that you have such gems. I mean, we could talk
yeah,
about this all day long. I have been on a mission to get the fact that here in the United States, to take 2 classes and pass a test,
yeah,
and you get to deal with the highest, not only from your home, but your businesses and how you're dealing with your wealth and where it gets wire transfer,
yeah.
fraud, whatever. Do you know, I just found out this actually tidbit a couple months ago, that in Massachusetts, you literally can go on a Friday and on a Monday be a licensed real estate agent and actually practice.
Yeah, I've heard stories like that in different states. It's really surprising, and that's the thing is sometimes, I was talking to an agent, because we have a brokerage here. I was talking to an agent that was moving to Canada from Arizona just recently, and she said she was picking her brokerage, and I said, "Oh, are you finished? Your education? Are you finished the schooling?" She goes, "No." She goes, "I'm going to start Monday. I'm sure I'll be done in a week." Is what she said. I said, no, 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 no. Have you actually called? No, no, no. I said, listen, this is going to take you months. Like there's a lot of different modules here. She said, what? I said, you might be 6 months into this and, $9,000 by the time you're done here. And she was shocked because in Arizona, she got her, her real estate license, I think in a week. So there's a lot of schooling here. Like I said, the barrier to entry is high. So it's not like you can't click funnel agents here. You can't just
I
click them
love it.
through. Yeah.
I kudos to you guys. Kudos to Canada, because if we could do that to the United States, I really want them to have a 4-year degree.
Yeah.
If you don't have a 4-year degree in business economics, construction, something, finance, whatever, you can't, I don't think you should be able to have.
Even still, when you think about it, even though it takes you 3, 6 months, maybe a year and let's say it costs you 10,000 all in, let's say it does that. What other, industry can you go to school for that little amount of time, spend that much money and make more money than a doctor or a dentist? There's no other industry. So real estate, can be very lucrative for the people that do this right, So anyways, and if you put it into perspective from that point of view, it's very interesting,
I think it's fantastic. And the joke back to the bar scene is that why did I bring that up? And I got you to talk. I got you to talk about dad and to go with it. And you're like, oh no, my image, my image, my image. But that is the coolest thing, because in a bar, during the time of when they're at their best and at their worst, or potentially their worst, and you're dealing with people who are very excited about being there or not. But that's what it is in real estate. You're excited to buy that home, or you're dealing in a market where you wrote 100 offers and you're just like, oh, I'm really depressed about how do I deal with it? So you're a people person. You're, instead of calling a hustle, you're the one that can help nurture them and keep them feeling happy and alive. Because I believe in a bar scene, you have to be able to navigate that very well. So
Hey, listen, we're talking about 20 years ago.
Yeah, but dude, we are a byproduct of our experiences. That is who we are.
I genuinely love real estate. Love it. Like, I love the business. I love the industry. I love everything about it, you know? So we have a real passion for it. And there, you know, quite honestly, you know, I'm not in production anymore, but as a real estate agent, there's no buzz like closing a deal. I mean, it's fantastic. It's great. It's very rewarding in a lot of ways, because, you know, you're helping your clients and you're seeing, you know, the joy on their face. Maybe it's their first home purchase, or, you know, their first sale of their property, you know, or whatever it is. It's a big deal, you know, and we just have a genuine love and passion for the business and the industry. We do. And I think that translates through to everything we do in the business, I think, you know?
Oh, absolutely. Well, your love of life, your love of doing things is, you can see it. I mean, you can see your setup, you can see how you're into the podcast, and you really want to bring in that element. You know, I'm into the rawness. So you notice I have just this, me, versus in all the gasmos, because I want you to hear who I am without the, I'm not going to say the clarity augmented portion of it, but the idea is being able to just pick up the phone and say, hey, here she is, she arrived, oh my gosh, you know, did she ruin the room, you know, did do it. So for you, let's talk about your real estate, because not everyone's going to know, and we forget that sometimes. So your framework of your brokerage, let's talk about that, because I think it's very interesting on how you're bringing your business model. So let's, before we go into our rules of the game, let's talk about what David has done in his brokerage. So we determined 20 years ago, you were in the bar, you were able to hustle.
No, stop saying that. It was in passing. It was brief. It was brief.
Hold on. Dad was an entrepreneur, and dad sold multiple companies, exited multiple companies. You've already done that multiple times. So if we break that down from an analytical side, you're now having real estate investors, business and commercial and residential. And the idea is luxury and entry point. And you're out of production, but now you've taken that whole hierarchy and said, okay, how do I create the buzz of the enjoyment and the training and the mentoring to get them to continue to grow their business? Because when they grow, you grow. Your name, your brand, you're now taken into multiple, as you say, states, and you're now national. What has driven you to get there? And I'm saying your experiences from dad, from you, has multiplied that, and you're a byproduct of it. That's why I'm trying to paint the framework. So where do we start in our time, in our chronological book of you? Because you're not local to the United States.
Yeah.
That little framework for a couple minutes.
Yeah. So it's multiple provinces, not states. Right? We call them provinces here. Yeah. Well, you know, to be honest with you, like myself and my partner, Nathan, every waking moment we have is how can we help the agents make more money, literally save more money and make more money and close more deals. That's all we think about, literally. You know, we think about giving our agents strategic advantages, like constantly. That's all we do. So we're very heavy on, you know, unique selling propositions, you know, helping the agents differentiate themselves, even as brand new agents, you know, like brand new out of like this. I think this is one of the biggest, you know, fears that agents have is, you know, being brand new in the business is like, how do I get people to work with me? You know, how do I get people to trust me 5 minutes in the business? You know, what advantage do I have? And that's why we've created, you know, very unique selling propositions at our brokerages. You know, crypto's one of them, right? Among other things. And then we're very heavy on training, coaching, and mentorship, very heavy on that. So our training calendar is full, you know, week to week. You know, we bring in world-class guest speakers every week. I mean, we have boot camps. I mean, like we're very, very heavy on this. In fact, a lot of what Nathan and I do is training coach agents day to day, you know, so that we get a real joy out of that, you know, helping an agent like close their first few deals, you know, brand new. And we've done that. We've had agents that are we've had agents, I'm thinking of one guy in particular, like he made a move across the country, had no client base, brand new at a real estate school, but he had to provide for his family. After 1 year in the business, started his own team. I think he hit 50 transactions in a little over a year personally. That's big money. That's big money. We're super, yeah. And we're super proud we were able to help him do that. We helped him build his business from the ground up, and very proud to do things like that. No one's, I always say no one started and trained more teams than Nathan and I, because we do, that's just what we did. We started multiple teams across the country. That's kind of our wheelhouse. If you need help, starting a team, growing a team, replacing yourself in terms of production, like that's kind of our wheelhouse. We know how to do that, so that we take a lot of pride in that. But along with that, what comes with that is all the creativity. I think naturally, me personally, all I do is think of ideas all day, every day, and then I try and take that and plunk it down into the brand itself. I'm very heavy on branding and the creative process as it relates to real estate, because I think that's lacking a lot in the industry.
You know what? If I were to sum you up right now, your analogy of giving back to your agents, not in the, and not once did you say technology. You said about the training, you said about ideologies, you're talking about how can I give to my investment because they are your babies
Yes.
to grow to be better. And that ability, like I have some CEOs because I run the Diversity Inclusion Leadership Council. I have some incredible women that are on it that do different ways of getting them to grow their franchises or grow their D&I or grow different aspects. And that's in their field. But what you're doing is you're hands-on being that trainer, not and bringing the specialty to come in, but you're giving 150% to that person. Because if you can give it to 50 people or 10 people or 500 people, that multiplier is the reciprocation of them going out and finding other people to be your brand awareness of getting them to grow within the business, in addition to expand outside. So that value of you giving 150% to your own nurture babies, we're going to call them, and puppies, then you're growing that. And your ability to say, I am the face, I'm out there and I'm curating podcasts, I'm golfing, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. As you're the brand, you're not the hired brand, you are the brand, and you don't compete because you're not production. So your ability to curate and say, I want you to be the best because then you win, I win, we all win. Love, love, love that. And I think the key differentiator with you is you're starting with agents that have already invested not only their money, but their time, 6 months to a year, where we're starting here in the United States on the average, like here in California, it's 2 classes and 18 months, you get to go in, and you literally can go in within, we'll say 2 months. You can literally, and you're not studying, you take a couple of tests, you go online, it's a few hours, whatever. I mean, realistically, it's like 20, 30 hours, who cares? And then from there, you go take your test in a couple of month delay, and then you get your license. So you actually have people who knowledge wise, understanding wise, experience wise, maybe not real experience, but they understand that they put the time and effort in to really absorb that information other than be a memorization test. One of the things that really disturbed me is when I got my license in North Carolina, because I'm based here in California, our headquarters is everything I knew in California had to be completely downloaded and reprogrammed in North Carolina. Because North Carolina, if you leave a business card, that's considered a fine of $1,500 because that's solicitation.
If you leave a business card.
Leave a business card. It's
illegal. Wow.
Yeah, in California, you leave a business card to show that you showed the house as respect. Yeah. When someone didn't do that, you felt like, really? Because we didn't have electronic, back in the day. We do now, obviously, and everyone has to go through a calling system. But the idea is, I thought, and the disclosure in North Carolina, you don't disclose anything. Seller doesn't want to, doesn't have to, doesn't care, and doesn't wish to. Yeah, in California, we have 80 pages of disclosures because you're going to get sued for everything, and no matter what you do or say, right?
Yeah.
So the idea of base of what you talked about, from the education level to come in and become a licensed agent in Canada, huge. So you're taking a core of nucleus of people who want to be there, who have the attrition and the ability to there, and all you have to do, which I make it sound easy, but believe and invest in them and continue on a daily basis. That is huge. You're the first person I've ever interviewed that said, 24/7, it's all about the people, except for a couple people that I know that are my personal leaders, but they're running massive companies. And
Mm.
here you are scaling. That's unbelievable. So thank you for that. So let's dig into.
Yeah, and sorry, I didn't want to derail you there,
Oh
but
my
the other part of it too is, when it comes to training, coaching, and mentorship, things have really changed in the industry, which I know we'll get into, but I think training and coaching that you had, even a few years ago is not necessarily relevant to today, other than the broad stroke stuff, right? So I think you need to really drill down on specifics. What are people looking for? How are they shopping for agents? Where are they looking for real estate? You need to understand that. I think that's critical, and that's always changing. So we like to keep the agents up to date on what's happening in the industry and how it applies to their business going forward. That's critical. It's super important.
I love it. And especially, California is always the forerunner of laws and changes. And Canada, has been more of the quiet, reserved, and they have the least, everyone comes to the United States for investors. They want to get, because they're so tight on the
Yeah.
money.
Canada though is very, from city to city is pretty entrepreneurial, and Canadians embrace tech pretty good. Like,
You guys have some
yeah,
incredible products coming out. And look at all the stuff
yeah,
that's coming out there. It's phenomenal.
yeah.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about rule number one on
Uh-huh.
what that is. So tell us what rule number one is for David Morrell.
Uh, as it relates to the business?
As it relates to the status quo and disrupting in real estate.
Okay. Rule number one is you need an overflow of business to scale. I think that rule number one is, besides your SOI, which most agents get into the industry, kind of focused on their sphere of influence, which is valid, but I always tell new agents, don't rely on your sphere of influence necessarily to generate the business you need to make a living. Because most of the time, although family and friends say that they're looking forward to you getting your real estate license so they can use you, they don't like to, right? And sometimes they skirt around it, right? Because they don't trust you. You're brand new in the business, right? So it has to be about something else. So don't rely on your sphere of influence. If your friend uses someone else to sell their house, although they're dead to you, don't let that kill you. Have an overflow of business somewhere else. So I think you have to have multiple lead pillars. I think you need to have multiple sources of where you're generating leads and clients. I think that's critical. So that's where tech comes in. I think you have to be familiar with how people are shopping online, getting in front of them online. Maybe it's social media, maybe it's a lead gen platform, something else, right? Referral-based system, a partnership, a strategic partnership, something else. So don't rely on your sphere of influence. That's rule number one, Desiree.
I love it, because the reality is that we've become too competitive within our own families. We've become too, privacy is become a big deal. And so if you have to go into the nuts and bolts that, oh, I have the showman of how much money I make or how much I have, and yet you don't disclose it. I mean, that's one of the biggest things that we're finding, especially in the aging population, that they're stealing money from the parents, and that's sad. But you think about the family, you think about my friends, you think about, well, how come you never told me you were this far in debt? Or how come you didn't say this to me? They don't want to approach it. They want to have that facade of what life is all about. And so to your point, dad, that was like, whoa, okay, just because they're dead to you. Well,
it was a joke. They're not dead to you.
But that was to me traumatic, in the sense that you're right. They're totally alive. But as far as making money, if you look at the return on investment, it's flat. Because why would you rely on your best friend? Because if you're going to do it for the right reasons, that means to help. And sometimes that means to just give and not to have any money that comes back of it.
Yeah. And I heard, I think it was Gary Vaynerchuk some time ago. I heard him, go into detail about having no expectations of people and you'll never be disappointed. Right. So don't expect something from family or friends and you'll never be disappointed. It'll just be icing. So I think rule number one is you need to have an overflow business and not rely specifically on your sphere of influence, although it's nice.
And when people see you're successful, especially your friends and family, they want to go, well, wait a second, I want some of that action. I want to be part of that, because they gravitate to the fun versus then just being, right? Who wants to throw in the towel with someone who's new, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So if we go back to that, you talk about overflow. one of the things that I like to address before we go to rule number 2 is overflow means opportunities of where someone else is not. You know, one of the things in real estate when I got my license for 30 some years now is I would always go somewhere where no one else would be a realtor. You know, when if I just had my real estate hat on it. And that's one of the reasons I opened the ecosystem I do for housing and resident and real estate is why. Because every piece of land, whether it's dirt, raw land, whether it's space, whether it's water, is real estate because you have to sell it, you have to utilize it, you have to buy it. You know, people think, well, air, it's free, everyone owns it. No, airspace is a very big deal, especially if you have a sky rise that's going up that you block someone's view. You know, you have to deal with the air. You got drones flying right now. You got to compare where it's going. That is real space and that is real estate. So you have to think about what that is. So when you look at where I used to go, is I used to go to conferences and places where I would be the curator of businesses because guess what? Every business coming in, the infrastructure, they would have to have a place to have their commercial business and also their residential housing. No matter what it's apartment, multifamilies, you know, residential safaris, whatever. But the thing is that model's changed a little bit, obviously, because of the pandemic. But if you look at the rawness of what it used to be, I would go to all international SBAs where all the embassies would be. So I'd be the go-to company to bring them in. I got to know all the big corporate businesses immediately, not because I used to do Fortune 500 relocation, but because of the fact is now everyone got to know who this woman was, what was she doing to help gender equality, and most importantly, I understood the fundamentals. So let's talk about the differences of that overflow of leads from a different perspective. So talk to a little about, you talked before we got online that you brought in the mob boss to come in and talk to your people. What was that like?
Oh yeah, that was incredibly interesting. First of all, as I mentioned, you sound like the Bruce Lee of real estate. Be like water. So that's Desiree. I also actually, the people don't know this, but like, or maybe they do know this, but you're the character that was played by Kelly McGillis in Top Gun was actually based off you.
It's so cute. Yeah,
I didn't realize that. I don't know if the people know this, but Desiree actually lived in Alaska and worked with fighter pilots.
You know what? That is a true statement. I didn't even think. Very good catch. That is a very true statement. I lived in Alaska for 3 years and I did. Yeah.
Right. And you had to like, you had to get, like you had to set some of the pilots straight for flipping the bird to Russian MiG for being inverted. Right.
Right. Inverted on the runway regarding the dropping the flour sacks that were on the thing to say, hey, we were here. We showed up. But yeah, I used to work on training the F4 to F16 pilots in Arizona and in Alaska.
I thought that was the most interesting thing. Like, we should be talking about that, not real estate. But hey,
but think about that. That is real estate. So think about that lead generation because I can now relate to the military. I can relate to DoD contracting. So that is where we became the best friends of the government. And so we were tasked with the Office of Minority and Women Inclusion. So in Canada, if you think about that, you're now across all the provinces, you're now national, and you brought in the different cultures that are within Canada into your book of business to get that lead. So let's talk about.
Yeah, so that's actually a really good point, something we're passionate about, which is rule number 2. I know you didn't set it up, but we're going to bring up rule number 2 right now, which is differentiators, unique selling propositions. You have to have them. They are absolutely critical to your real estate business in 2021 and beyond. And I'll tell you why. Okay. So it's not just real estate, but every industry is being disrupted by unique selling propositions, every single one. So you've got Uber and Lyft completely blown up and disrupted the taxi industry. They don't even own taxis, right? But their unique selling proposition is built on time, right? I haven't called a taxi in 3-4 years, right? I open up my Uber app, I can see where my driver is, no money exchanges hands. I know what the value proposition of Uber is. I get that. You've got Airbnb and VRBO completely blown up the hotel industry based on their unique selling proposition. No money exchanges. You don't have to check in, comforts of home, closer to where I'm working, etc. Right? So they did something interesting. You got the insurance industry. You've got Amazon completely blown up retail. They put malls out of business, right? And their USP is say what?
Cities too. entire cities out of business.
Yes. Yeah. There we go. Like Amazon. I mean, like, you know, something breaks in my house. I don't have to navigate the traffic in downtown Montreal to go buy a new one, or whether the store has it or not. I just order it to my front door and I get it the next morning. Right. So USPs, the way that people shop for anything right now is based on differentiators, or being able to answer the question, what's in it for me? Okay. WIFM, right? You know, people always talk about tuning to station WIFM. So it's critical that you're answering that question. You know, as real estate agents, if you say, hey, I'm a nice guy, you know, I've been in the business, you know, X amount of years, I've done that. People don't care about that. They don't care. That's a baseline, right? Good service is a baseline. That's not a USP, right? Negotiating the best price is not necessarily a USP. It might be, but again, that's a byproduct of what we do because we're good at our job. So USPs, unique selling propositions in real estate, I think are critical, differentiators. You know, what makes you different from the competition? You know, why should I choose you as opposed to the other agent I'm interviewing? And so I think this is critical. And again, we train and coach agents how to answer those questions, you know, and, you know, people come across the table and say, where do I sign? Because not only do we read personality types, but we, you know, we speak to them with unique selling propositions that matter to the client, you know? So that's kind of, you know, our brokerage is based on USPs in a lot of ways. You know, we've created a lot of USPs, you know, from in different cities, you know, according to law. But that being said, when we do that, when you can articulate what makes you different from the competition, or you provide something that a client really wants, it doesn't matter if you've been in the business 5 minutes, 5 years, 50 years, it does not matter. So in that way, you know, brand new agents are able to grow and scale their business quite quickly because they can articulate what makes them different and why they should choose a brand new agent as opposed to an agent who's been in the business 20 years. It's a fact.
Okay. You have now just sold me your fluidity of how you speak, how you transcend, your ability to, without being the hustle. You know, you talk about the hustle. I think you should never use the word hustle in your words. Why? Because your ability to curate change of making someone feel comfortable, like you said, the lady being, you know, as a 25-year veteran of Anaheim Ducks here, you know, blah, blah, blah.
There you go.
I get all the hockey terms, and, you know, Paul Correa and several other great people.
Oh, Paul Correa. I can't believe I love Paul Correa.
Right?
Love Paul Correa. Yeah.
So, but going down that path, you know, your ability to take your practice every day of podcasting, of interviewing, of Clubhouse and speaking, but transcend into the ability to your brokerages and bring it in. And that's why, if I'm thinking of all the great leaders that I know that run these huge brokerages, why? Because they are speaking constantly, whether it's on social media or running a podcast or out in front of their agents and their franchises every single day, be in that pot. You become so gifted at your communication skills and your ability to navigate, and what flows out of your mouth that you can just say in your sleep. You have that ability. And I know I love it because you have this gift of, I'm just listening to you going, wow, if I sat in that room and what I know now and what I knew back then, I'd be like you said, sign up today. Where do I sign?
I actually don't think I'm a good speaker. I think like I said, I'm passionate about real estate and branding and marketing and, you know, unique selling propositions and a lot of these things, right? Like we're passionate about it. So I think that's just what comes through. I actually don't think I'm good at speaking.
Now you have a lot of what women have. I hate to say it, but you have a lot of confidence, self-confidence issues that we need to address, because you are very elegant in speaking. You have an incredible delivery. And you don't like talking about yourself, but one of the most interesting things about you is yourself. And the more you showcase that, I believe, to your agents, to showcase your history about these things and talking about, we won't talk about the B word that we kept bringing up because you don't want me to bring it up too many times. It's only a nice word. It's only 3 letters, people. But that ability to curate that life of going, as you say, we all have a past. No one's Mother Teresa. I love that. No, seriously.
Well, listen, I'm blushing, but I thank you very much. Thank you very much.
No, it's a reality. You want to, you know, and not here to throw compliments, but we need to, as society, do that. We need to say, call it like a spade. Okay, you look great. You look awesome. The number one thing is people gravitate to people who look good, sound good, and content has the least amount. It's only 7%. So the fact that you're able to stand up and say, hey, I'm the stud. Hey, I'm delivering my content in a soft, very articulated, but very slow, but pleasant voice without screaming at me. I can tell you, I'll name some very famous people. As soon as they come up and start speaking, I immediately tune them out because of their tone and
Yeah.
how they're speaking. I
Yeah.
don't want anything to do with them. And they could be the
Well,
best.
hey, I'm very soft spoken, as you can tell.
Yeah.
Very disarming.
So I
Um,
heard a very incredible story about cryptocurrency. So let's talk about cryptocurrency and what
sure.
it's done for your business, because I think that's a very hot topic that not many agents talk about. So let's
Mhm.
let's take a deep dive into that one.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, crypto, blockchain technology. I mean, it's, for a lot of people, I've been a guest speaker just recently on a few different shows, and I've actually spoken to brokerages about this because they're, it's like it's such a foreign subject, but everybody's talking about it. Nobody seems to really understand it, especially how it relates to real estate. So, when we became brokerage a number of years ago, I first heard about the concept of, and I was pretty, somewhat familiar with Bitcoin and cryptos, but I heard the concept of what we call fractional ownership as it related to blockchain technology and cryptocurrency. And what that meant was, um, basically, it was the idea or the theory that you wouldn't sell a whole house or a whole property, but a fraction of it, right? So properties were fractionalized, and therefore, first time how it actually applied was first time home buyers. So to tell, a first time home buyer, a millennial who makes, X amount of dollars a year, that they have to save up, $100,000 to buy a 1-bedroom townhouse in New York, was just the concept was, I'm not doing that. What do millennials do? I mean, they share everything.
Right.
They share cars, they share apartments, they share bikes, for crying out loud, offices, right? They don't necessarily want to own anything. So the idea of fractional ownership was, well, listen, I'm going to move into this house. I can't afford to buy the whole home, but I can buy $10,000 worth of the house, and the debt and equity becomes liquid. So this theory, or the concept of fractional ownership, was very interesting to us. And then we took a deep dive into that and looked at it a little bit closer. And, as it turns out, there's a lot of companies that are making this a reality, and it's going to be here quicker than we know. In fact, we had consulted with many companies about this, in the UK and other places about that. And because we were forward thinking as it related to real estate, you got to remember too, as a national brand, we had, and we have massive, databases of buyers and sellers, like massive, like in the hundreds of thousands. We had international buyers in our database, and we were getting inquiries from overseas. We had buyers coming from Asia, inquiries from Russia and other places, and they were asking about cryptocurrency. And this was years ago, because cryptocurrency, you can move large amounts of money real fast for real cheap, right? That's what it facilitates, right? We all know what happens with banks, right? Especially if it's an international buyer. The money has to, go to this bank, sit there for 90 days, go to that bank, sit for, like, honestly, there was a lot of red tape as it related to banks. Cryptocurrency facilitates purchases real quick, if you have it. And what was happening was, when we started getting into this, we were speaking at cryptocurrency conventions. There was magazines doing, spreads on us in terms of like how we're disrupting real estate with crypto and things like that. And so we thought, okay, we'll make it a buyer offer. If you're so, and we were meeting, keep in mind, we were meeting young entrepreneurial people that were making, I'm not joking, like young, like kids in my, not to use that word kids, but like young people that were millionaires from Bitcoin. Millionaires, and they were looking to spend their money on boats and cars. And we said, okay, well, if you want to buy houses, we figured out a way to do that, right, to facilitate that. And so we said, hey, we're open for business with Bitcoin. We thought it was a buyer offer, but we didn't realize was it quickly became a seller offer, right? So by offering to transact in crypto as a real estate brokerage, sellers were now going, oh, hey, we'd like to advertise our property for crypto, or we'd like to open up our property to a new pool of buyers, international buyers that might want to transact in crypto. So it became a very distinct USP as a brokerage. So it's been powerful for buyers, powerful for sellers and even more powerful for agents that want to differentiate themselves. You know, when they go in on a listing presentation and say, hey, you know, our brokerage can facilitate, you know, crypto transactions, that's a major value prop, you know, as a listing agent, you know. And we even have agents, you know, it's actually pretty interesting. We have agents, you know, that they've put, you know, the Bitcoin and Ethereum logos right on the decals of their car, along with the, you know, hey, my name's, you know, Joe Realtor, and, you know, they got the brokerage logo and then Bitcoin and Ethereum, they put it on their signs, you know. And does it generate inbound phone calls? Yes, it does. And let me tell you something, Desiree, when you can generate inbound phone calls in real estate, that is the gold standard. And you know that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's all about, why do you think celebrities like news? All news doesn't matter if it's good, bad, or indifferent, because
Yeah.
it's phone to ring. And we actually have people calling and say, how do we get a hold of you? They love you. We're not even done yet. And they want to come work for you. They want to be part of you.
Oh yeah. Well, we're only in Canada, guys. We're in Canada.
But that's okay. This is global. Hello. And
is there a chat going on that I can't see?
It's actually on Facebook Live. Yes.
Oh,
that's okay. So they're just asking how to get a hold of you. So we'll wrap that up at the end. So this is
okay, sure.
To give you a teaser on how to get a hold of David Morrell at the end of the podcast, which we only have another 15 minutes. So it's all good. Yeah. So this is cool. So one of the things that I think is the most powerful thing is that you think about that most of the people own Bitcoin, that the bulk of it obviously are your ultra high net worth, your family offices, the people who are moving tons of money. But then also it brought a whole new class, you know, whole ideas is that you get into, you know, the millionaire status or the billionaire status even. It's so much easier to become a billionaire now than it's ever been before, between cannabis, between cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, whatever commodity you want to put in there.
Listen, it's not to interrupt you, Desiree, but I got a call from P. Diddy's neighbor in New York saying, hey, can you sell my house for Bitcoin? Like, you know, which I thought was interesting. So again, it's a value prop for sellers, you know, but.
Well, they're seeing you on the podcast. They're seeing you in going it. They're seeing you being around the bush. And it, you know, if you go back to what everyone says in the luxury market, you go into the big corporations, you have to be in the room. You know, the old adage is that you got to go to the places. I remember you making the story of, you know, going places and helping the small businesses out, helping the people out and all that kind of stuff. It's power. You know, you have to be in the room to where people you're going to give back, and you have to be in the room where people can see that you know how to handle something that is new and foreign, because they look at internet. Where was the internet going? And now to be honest, the internet's being fractionalized, you know, so you being in the, you know, because in certain countries, they're not allowing the internet to even exist. They're actually shutting it down because the wars we're having, and what, you know, we're going to allow cryptocurrency or Bitcoin or this or that. So you having a different strain, or allowing your agents to work in every kind of currency, no matter what it is, or the ability to exchange and be forward thinking, that is huge, because you're getting it. So and
there's rules with that too, though. Keep that in mind, that there's a whole process to that. There's rules and legalities and things like that. So it has to be, you know, real estate's heavily regulated in Canada. So we make sure that everything is done absolutely above board with the, you know, with the banks, the lawyers, the title trend, all that type of stuff, you know, so keep that in mind too.
Well, no, but see, that's where your training of 6 months to a year is valid of this, but also you realize if you do something wrong, that means the whole brokerage penalized. So your baby are your agents, because they're producing, which is giving you your life and your style and your ability to grow. So they are a brand recognition. So if you don't have the utmost, ethics and authenticity of what you're doing, how do you expect them to do that? So you lead by example. Yeah. And that's what's so powerful of what we're talking about right here, is even though you're disrupting the status quo, you're still keeping the compliance issues and the oversight and the regulations at the core. And that's where, you know, I'm so fortunate in the banking industry, understanding the fundamentals to the ultimate, and figuring out what that makes that work, and bringing the cryptocurrency, bringing the digitization to it, and understanding the fundamentals of it. It's so powerful. And that's what I think.
Yeah. And we're also, we're on the cusp of a lot of change in the industry. You know, what blockchain and crypto does, you know, depending on how this all plays out, you know, there's been a massive dip lately, and there's a lot of talk about, you know, which crypto is actually going to win out, you know, what technology is backing the different cryptos. But that being said, you know, cryptocurrency, blockchain technology, there's a natural fit to the real estate industry. There just is, because there's a lot of aspects of it that reduce friction in the process.
Yes.
And anything that reduces friction in real estate and makes the transaction easier for the client or the consumer, I think will not only win, but will be here to stay. And I think that's really important. Again, you have to think like a consumer. You have to think like a client, not like an agent. I think this is critical. And it's one of the things that agents really need to zoom out and look at things from the perspective of their buyer or seller, right?
Yep.
I think that's super important. A lot of agents, they go into, a presentation, they go, I'm going to sell to this person. That's not, you need to adapt and look at things from their perspective. Sell to people the way they want to be sold to, not the way you think they should be sold to.
That is
Yep.
exceptionally powerful. And
Yep.
the other thing is I want to make sure that, because I'm the compliance kind of girl that know the rules of the game to play the game, hence it's called, is making sure, even though we're talking about keep it as fluid as possible and transparency, easy as possible for both clients and both sides of the fence, is disclosure. I can go down the path. When you got people paying, 25 to 30% over list, when you got people waiving appraisals, waiving inspections, waiving everything, and just say, I'm buying as is, where is, who cares? Back in the old REO days, or back in the time to where you didn't care because, the price point was there. You've got to make sure that you've advised them to do every single inspection, every single thing, and they've have gone overboard and said, no, they don't want anything.
You have to protect your clients. Like, you have to protect them, right?
They're
high,
yourself, you as an agent, you as a brokerage,
Yep.
you as your reputation, because you've got to say, no, I advise you to do all these things. You have declined to do them, have it in writing, go with it. So I just want to make sure when we're talking down that path that we go with it. So let's go on to rule number 3, because we're getting close.
Okay. Rule number 3, from my perspective, is branding and marketing. Critical. Absolutely critical. Branding and marketing. Well, I'm very passionate about branding and marketing. Design. I have a heavy design eye. That's a lot of what I bring to the table here is I'm very passionate about branding. So in a lot of ways, and you can see it on the podcast too, is we'll go outside the industry, like way outside the industry. And we'll bring elements of fashion, of, music, the art world, and we'll bring that back to the branding aspect of the company. And that's why the words we always hear about our branding is it's contemporary, it's modern, it's sexy. These are the words we hear about our branding. And it's true, we'll take an element from, I don't know, a shoe design and bring that back to real estate. I'm friends with a lot of artists, a lot of street artists. So I've had them, work on the logo and, do these one-off collaborations and things like that. And we'll bring that back and make the brand look, so agents are very proud to put that logo somewhere, and they feel a certain way when they see it. We also started creating Spotify playlists, music to sell houses too, right? So we have different artists curate playlists on Spotify. We call it GPG Radio. That's been really cool, really fun project. I think marketing is critical, especially, if millennials are driving the market in the next 3 to 5 years, they really pay attention to this stuff. What does it look like? How does it feel? I think a lot of, younger agents, we've attracted that tribe. We have a great culture and whatnot, but I think they, the tired look of the, the big box brands in a lot of ways, these were, branding that was designed in, decades ago. Right. So we'll go way outside the industry. I remember one time we had a big project, and we wanted to do, a special video for it, like a really special video. And I was doing everything I could to find a creative, a videographer that hadn't worked in real estate. So we found a hip hop, video guy, and we had him make it was a multi-million-dollar project, and it went viral. Like, it was fantastic, we didn't show one property, to be honest with you, in the video. It just evoked this emotion, the music in it, and what he'd done with the video. And it generated those inbound phone calls, so I think branding and marketing, you really have to pay attention to that stuff in 2021 and beyond. You got to be proud to put that logo out there. And if it evokes an emotion, I think it'll sell when you're not in the room. So I think that's important.
You know what? My mind was just going 100 miles an hour when you said that, because if you think about, your podcast is that GPG, you have, we talk the NFTs, we talk about all the different things that are going on right now. You have now instituted a platform to where you can take budding artists, you can take people who are very successful, but most importantly, you can take a budding artist, put them, have and curate a video to the property or video to your brand. Not only you giving them recognition, you're giving your brand recognition, And if you're like Elton John, where he constantly is changing up his style, he's constantly evolving. I mean, he cannot stay relevant as he is, the top of the leader, because the fact is every decade or every year, or whatever, he's changing his whole motif of what gets done. Yes, he had his fashion. Yes, he had his sunglasses. My younger brother was one of his dancers and had toured with him and all that
Oh,
stuff.
wow.
Madonna and Elton John, I mean, Madonna and Diana Ross, and I could go down all the greats, right, during the day. And the idea is that when you're talking about your ability to have sound, and what real quickly, when we talk about, that feeling you're generating during the pandemic, that was the one thing. I might physically not be able to see you, smell you, touch you, or be part of that eco, but sound of a song, that one note would be the difference, whether I'm in person or on a call like this, or a digitalization of it. It was the same. And
Yeah.
that ability to connect in that memory bank or whatever, and you evoking a new vibe that keeps them alive, is everything. And like you said, oh, who's David? Oh my gosh, what's this property group they're doing? Who's this group they're playing? I've never heard of them. Let me go to that playlist. Well, I remember David was a group that got me into this. So I'm thinking about selling a house. Oh yeah, that's right. He's pretty cool. Let's go call. Had nothing to do with real estate. Some of the biggest deals go down with people who are not experts in it, because they ask someone else because they happen to be in the moment because of how they made them feel.
I agree. Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
I think a brand has to evoke an emotion, right? I think it does. I think it, I'm really proud of our brand and what we've done. And we will constantly have new ideas. And when people say you can't do that, or that's not been done in real estate, we're going to do it and try it. Cause I think, like I said, the industry as a whole is pretty archaic. There hasn't been a lot of disruption or changes to the industry in many, many years. So if we can do that, we talked about crypto, obviously, the music, the artistry, the fashion world, all these type of things. We bring that back, to our company, into the industry, and people love to be a part of it. Like, they want to be a part of it. So you end up attracting a tribe and a really great group of people. And of course that adds to the culture, but that's just, that becomes the byproduct, because we're so excited about it. We love it. We love, having a brand that agents are proud of.
This has been a joy, a total joy, because not only get to learn, but I get to see you're more than just a pretty face. You're more than a soft spoken. You have elegancy.
Well,
but no,
yeah.
I know. Gotta go. I gotta get my stuff. I'm a few years older than you, a few decades too.
Oh, come on. You don't look a day over 29.
Yeah, right. That's all good. My kids, I have 2 kids older than 29, so let's not go there. But the chorus is that here you are. We have the 3 rules we went over. One was the overload of data, keeping leads going. Number 2 was what again?
Unique selling propositions, differentiators, and uniques.
And 3?
Branding and marketing.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. So we're going to close with a tip. So what's the tip of the day that you'd like to give our listeners around the world?
Oh, a tip. I seek knowledge sooner. I think that's one of the things that I kind of regret, because now I'm insatiable when it comes to, books and podcasts and learning from people like yourself, people, giants in the industry. No, honestly, and people, I've been able to network with, captains of industry, successful entrepreneurs and influencers, week to week. And I think I would have done that a lot sooner. I think I would have, sought out knowledge sooner. So I think that's, if you can do that, even as a young agent, there's a lot of, I think the next generation of agents are going to be just killers, man. I'm really looking forward to seeing what the next generation of agents does, or the new agents in the industry. But seek knowledge sooner, always be asking questions.
I absolutely love that, because that's exactly what I did. I became the go-to person, because I would go to the best of the best who were the exceptional in every single category across every spectrum, even outside of housing real estate. Because the idea is that if you could go and get a fast 505 class or 606 in a day of attending a conference or being in its pocket, you became so knowledgeable that you could hold your own. You could have that conversation. And if you do it over a period of 10 years, like I have done, you become wow. And then you just amplify by reading up if you need to go into the weeds of it. So love that. Seek knowledge sooner. Love. That is everything. So closing, how do we get a hold of David Morrell?
Oh, Thanks for asking. So if you, if you're listening, subscribe to the podcast. I think you'll really like it, especially if you enjoyed the conversation today. So you can get the latest episodes at rungpg.com. That's RUNGPG, greaterpropertygroup.com. Or, iTunes, Spotify, you can subscribe on there. Please subscribe on there. We got some fantastic episodes coming up, like insane episodes coming up. So stay tuned for that. And then if you want to, if you have any questions, info@greaterpropertygroup.com, info@greaterpropertygroup.com. And of course I'm on Instagram, I think. And I communicate with people on Instagram quite a bit lately.
Very cool. Just because of Clubhouse.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's what's
Right?
happened. Yeah.
And then you just got to make sure he is the David Morrell at NYC.
Yes. No. YYC.
YYC.
Yeah. D Morrell YYC. You were texting the wrong David.
Right. Gotta love these people. Let's be real. Okay, call it out. But Desiree's organic. Desiree's, human.
Yeah, exactly.
Machine. Okay, let's go. But the other thing I'd like to close out. You're on Clubhouse all the time, so please follow.
Not all the time. I've actually taken it. Well, yeah, I try and pick my spots on there when I have time. Obviously, because we're running a business here, so trying to. If you're in a room, Desiree, I'm in that room. If you're in a room, I'm in the room.
Hey, love it. Same here. But the idea is that in closing, I really want everyone to know that this is about how we're sharing the knowledge. Yes, he's in Canada. Yes, I'm in the United States. Yes, I travel around different countries. But the idea is that we're coming from different backgrounds, but we're sharing the same thing. The more knowledge you can give, the more you can absorb. And the powerful thing is that find your tribe, find those people, because go where you don't think you would fit, because the more you listen from them, it might change your mind. Like cryptocurrency would, or having to deal with what finances are and how you're buying things, because the idea is that we need to learn to make sure that our kids get even better than we are as we go through the process. And that purpose is the quality of life, because life is not the same. And the reality is gives us the opportunity to grow and be better than what we are and who we are today. So I want to thank you, David, for this incredible time.
Thanks for having me. That was fun. That flew by. Yeah, that was fantastic. Thank you, Desiree.
You're quite welcome. So flip it. So please follow us at energyb.com, a women housing real estate ecosystem. And yes, David is, as we heard, the lady Bing. So hello, let's go with it. All right. So it fits in the perfect thing. So thank you very much. And everyone, please be safe and stay healthy. Make sure you take care of number one, your body and your mind, because this is what's so important, because you can't help anyone else if you don't take care of yourself. So as a parent of 4 kids and as a giver that gives out to make sure that this is the knowledge we can give out to you, I want to thank everyone for their valuable time here on Wednesday morning. So have a great one and be safe and stay healthy. Thank you very much, Dave. Peace out.
Thanks, Desiree.
Thank you.